Welcome back to Development Book Club. Today we will conclude with the Dhammapada. We'll finish the last few chapters of the Dhammapada as translated by Gil Fronsdal. First chapter we'll cover today is on craving, which I believe the Pali word is tanha, T-A-N-H-A. He does not provide an endnote for this, the translation of the chapter title, which is odd because he does for many, and this is the second noble truth. It's okay. The Buddha says, just as felled trees grow again, if the roots are unharmed and strong, so suffering sprouts again and again until the tendency to crave, cling, is rooted out. Furthermore, he says, wealth destroys those who lack in wisdom, but not those who seek the beyond. Craving wealth, those lacking wisdom destroy themselves as well as others. We see there that it's not wealth, but it's more about the person, what type of person, wise or unwise, and their relationship to it, that being one of craving or not. Next chapter is the Bhikkhu, and this B-E-H-I-K-K-H-U. We've dealt with this term before, with Bikkhu Bodhi is translated one of the books we've spoke about before. I would say the least clumsy way to translate that word is monk. Perhaps more clearly is alms mendicant. I don't know that really rings with anyone who speaks English in the 21st century. Getting away from the idea that a monk belongs to a monastery, which bhikkhus in the past didn't. And this again was the word that the Buddha in his first teaching referred to his listeners as. So Gil Fronsdal here says that according to ancient commentaries, anyone engaged in Buddhist meditation practice, man or woman, can be called a bhikkhu. Given all of that, the Buddha says, engaged in the Buddhist teachings, even a young bhikkhu lights up this world like a moon set free from a cloud. The final chapter of the Dhammapada is called On the Brahmin. The Buddha says, whoever endures abuse, assault, and imprisonment without animosity, and who has forbearance as one's strength, as one's mighty army, I call a Brahmin. Whoever is not mixed up with householders or renunciants, who has no abode and few desires, I call a Brahmin. Interesting point here, this idea of householders or renunciants. Householder is the term, I'm not sure the Pali term, but it's the term that is used for Buddhists who are not monastic, so people who have regular jobs. And the word for renunciants here could also be translated as homeless ones. And this is an interesting sort of separation that the Buddha mentions here, that they are not mixed up or associating with lay Buddhists or even renunciants or ascetics. Whoever, like the moon, is spotless, pure, clear, and undisturbed, in whom the delight for existence is extinct, I call a Brahmin. Interesting note about the moon being spotless. I wonder how this would affect this passage, given what we have today about the moon. The large number of spots or craters on it. So again, the end note to this chapter, or to this passage I wanted to read, which says, this question of the delight for existence is extinct. This is an attempt to translate the compound, and then there's a probably 20-letter word that I'm not going to read. So Fronsdal says, I am unsure how to understand this expression. This is like great humility in a translator, right? Like he could have not written this. He says, I am unsure how to understand, furthermore translate this expression. It could possibly mean whose delight and process of becoming, samsara, are extinct. Or, he says, whose existence based on delight is extinct, so maybe sense pleasure more there. Or, whose delight for further becoming is extinct. Bhava, B-H-A-V-A, which is in the middle of that huge word that he's attempting to translate, the middle word in the compound, is often translated as becoming. So this would be instead of existence, so delight for becoming is extinct as opposed to delight for existence is extinct. Bhava often translated as becoming, and sometimes as existence or life. It refers to the active functioning of life that generates further existence or being, which I believe is ultimately not nirvana, but the cycle of rebirths, samsara. Really, I just thought it was a cool endnote to have, like, quote, I am unsure how to understand this expression, unquote. That's a pretty cool place to come from as a translator. And finally, to conclude, The Buddha says, whoever, having given up liking and disliking, has become cooled without attachments, a hero overcoming the entire world, I call a Brahmin. There's almost like shades, I know it's anachronistic, but almost shades of Nietzsche in terms of like a hero overcoming the entire world. Sounds like something out of Zarathustra. This idea, I read this one because of this idea of giving up liking and disliking. It reminded me of whenever I travel to a foreign country and learn a language that I don't know, I find myself gravitating toward 3 verbs. And those verbs are like, want, and need, in terms of being able to express like basic needs or communication in learning a new language practically, like I need water or food or whatever, right? And this idea of we tend to take things that we like so seriously and we identify with them, form identities based on the music that we like or don't like, or the activities that we like, and we form groups and all this stuff. And I think it's worth our time to sort of step back and just think like, what does that actually mean to like something? Oh, it causes like this nice sense pleasure in us. And this idea of how can we come beyond that? So whoever, having given up liking and disliking, has become cooled without attachments and liking. A hero overcoming the entire world, so literally like the entire world of sense pleasures or pains. I call this person a Brahmin. I call a Brahmin, he says. Thus ends the Dhammapada. And I must include one more thing, a passage from The Afterword by Gil Fronsdal, where I felt maybe called out a little bit for this entire project, really. I will read you what he says. He says, removing any part of the Dhammapada, selecting the stanzas one finds inspiring, and removing or rewriting the difficult or uninteresting ones. Talk about just coming off of this verse of liking and disliking. So to do that, to choose and pick, he says, would leave a skewed picture of how ancient Buddhists understand or understood their lives and their spiritual practice. Given that, I've wanted to say this in videos in the past, but you are receiving a skewed version of every book we cover. The ones that I feel a resonance with, like the elephants from the previous video or whatever. This book is not long. It is very easy to read. I would encourage you, if you want a full understanding and not my understanding, my current understanding of any of these books, to read them. We'll see you next time.